Would you look at the lighting that I did in this room? Welcome everybody, Vlogmas day 12. Today, I'm gonna be going over the pros and cons of some of my digital creation tools. So the first one I'd probably want to get into is I'd probably dub it my main camera, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's the only one I use. It would have to be the Panasonic GH5. The pros with why I chose this particular camera is, for one, the quality of the resolution, the output of the bit rates, and all of those as far as specs, as far as a video camera spec type of tool. I know there's a lot of DSLRs or mirrorless cameras out there that cater to photos or videos. This one is particularly, its strongest suit is definitely video. For one, it's a mirrorless camera with interchangeable lenses, so you have that zoom capability. Another pro is the battery life. I don't have very much batteries to switch in and out of the camera because, for one, I could run off of one battery for an entire day. Just necessarily personal stuff like this, but when I'm out in the field shooting a wedding or shooting an event, I literally do not have to bring a crap load of batteries. The crazy thing with the GH5 is I know that my biggest thing was I wanted to use it as a vlog camera as well as a workhorse. To have in-body stabilization was such a big deal to me, and the GH5, that's one of the strongest pros about it. The sensor, it's a small sensor, micro four thirds, so it allows the sensor to move inside the camera, allowing for very stable footage when you're shooting. Only drawback is it is cropped. So the next subject I'd like to go to is speed boosting. The GH5 gave me that opportunity to speed boost. What speed boosting is an optical element on an adapter that allows you to use different lenses. In my case, I use Canon EF lenses, which reduces the 2x crop of a micro four thirds into about a 1.4 crop, so a little bit less than an APS-C sensor. So as a run and gunner, it's nice to have also the flip out screen. That's another thing about the Panasonic line, or just the GH5 in general, of why I chose it, is framing your shots when you're, out and about and vlogging, whatnot, trying to create a story. It's always helpful to be able to use the flip out screen as a set up those particular unique angles. The cons. The thing about bringing around a mirrorless camera is it's big, it's bulky, and it's heavy, especially when you add bigger lenses. Especially me, I speed boost my setups. It becomes a very big distraction when you have it out on the street and you are recording yourself. Just imagine like sticking this microphone on top of your camera and being out there and people are just staring at you like, look at that guy. Is he a real YouTuber? Is he blah blah blah? But that's the only thing, is it's not discreet at all. You're definitely gonna make a scene, in a sense, like you see eyes staring at you. I'd say the biggest con about the GH5 is the lack of autofocus. As a camera operator, I've gotten better at just manually focusing, especially how I work out in the field with weddings and shooting on the fly. And honestly, when I had the speed boost, I learned how to just dial in on manual focusing, because you get the best video out of doing everything manually. That's why the autofocus option isn't really a bothersome to me when I purchased the camera. Just an honorary mention, I did start in the mirrorless world with the Panasonic G7, which is the smaller camera. I learned everything I know as far as mirrorless on that, as learning how to dial in on the exposure triangle. I learned everything I know on that little tiny thing, and I ran with that for a while, and even till this day I still use it for photos. I use it with my native micro four thirds lenses. The cons about it is it just had no stabilization. Could utilize lenses that have stabilization, but it wasn't as good as what the GH5 brought me. Now we get to the GoPros, my favorite. It's a love and hate thing with the GoPros. I started the whole vlogging thing with GoPros, and it was small, discreet. It was good at the moment until I learned about its its capabilities and its strengths and its weaknesses. For me, it started to limit what I wanted to project as a videographer, as a creator, and it was great for capturing, you know, your personal moments and things like that, but it started to come down to, when I educated myself about quality of videos, it definitely was not meeting what I wanted to benefit from or progress in. So some of the pros with the GoPro: one, it shoots in super high frame rates, so if you really want that slow motion action feel, it definitely does that. It's also small and discreet. It's just as quick as easy as pressing record. You don't really have to have much of camera knowledge to utilize a GoPro, and I think that's why it was easy to dabble in more into actual mirrorless cameras and changing focal length. It's small and discreet. Could just hold it up, you know, talk to the camera itself. People won't look at you and be like, oh my god, what is he doing, you know? You won't draw attention to yourself. And then we go to the cons. Okay, the GoPro itself, it's bad in low light for sure. It's a small sensor, so I don't expect it to have the best capabilities indoors. Even if you light the situation, it still doesn't give you the optimal quality that I would want from it. You know, that's why I haven't upgraded. You know, I'm still rocking the GoPro Hero 4 and 5. 2 4s, 1 5. I just haven't really seen the true upgrade reason. And the audio is really bad. I was able to tweak the audio, find ways to adapt microphones that are really small and really adaptive to our situation, whether it's a water type of thing you want to shoot in with footage, if it's just you want that quick, clear, crisp stereo sound. That's why I have different setups. GoPros for every type of different situations, changing the shutter speed, matching the frame rate. I was able to do that by putting an ND filter on one of my setups, hence the red GoPro Hero 4. It's stuck in a certain focal length. It's a prime lens. It stays that particular wide angle view. They've kind of corrected it. They've made like a linear mode on the newer GoPros. That was a real big improvement that kept me from not upgrading and keeping the old versions. Heavily vlog with the GoPro as much. It's only if I'm doing some heavy action or heavy things that I cannot hold my big camera out, and usually it's because when I'm biking or something like that, or I'm skateboarding, you know, I'm definitely not going to hold like a heavy mirrorless camera. And then we get to the drone. It adds perspective to the story. It adds way more production quality. I think that there's two different things you have to learn with it. You just have to learn how to fly, and then two, learn how to do those angle movements when you're controlling the camera and the drone at the same time in the air. It's just really cool to own. It's really cool to be able to tell somebody, oh yeah, I could fly from a remote control helicopter. There aren't really any negatives about the drones, really. They just keep getting better and better. I have no complaints. It's just really cool to have one. The honorary mention, what they call the best camera is the one in your pocket. I believe that to an extent, because yes, it shoots high resolution, it shoots all these things. I would kind of name that like a C camera. Like, it's one of those things you utilize when you don't have your gear with you to capture those quick moments. I don't particularly use the iPhone for anything other than if you want to get those 1 second a day clips that I shoot on the fly when you don't have your stuff. It's definitely good for that, and it is of quality. I definitely utilize the iPhone for those reasons right there. Further down the line, I think they're gonna get better. It's all artificial intelligence. It may ruin the art of photography or videography, but I do like how it allows people to collect memories and start to create things, turn things into, manifest things into the world, and so people can view. Essence of why I record everything is just because personal memories. And in conclusion, I'd have to say it's subjective what people utilize for their vlogs or their professional work. For me, I'm not big on brands. I'm not big on sensors that are bigger. I'm really just big on focusing on the story at hand, and for giving me these tools to allow me to, you know, manifest my ideas as a creator has definitely been great with my tools that I've had. You know, push comes to shove, like, it's expensive if you don't have any type of return coming in. anything, if you do this semi-professionally or professionally, you know, you're able to fund your obsession for camera gear or anything like that. The whole purpose for me is I don't have much complaints. My gear has dialed in more of what I want to be able to utilize to create these stories. That's gonna do it. Catch you in the next one. And just to give you some perspective of what I created to make this is, see, right there and right here, and then lights, so they're in the corner, and table. Yeah, I'm in the process of gathering and moving all my stuff, so this is kind of just a makeshift thing for the moment.